here. Now the pressure's on.
Now the pressure's on, Julie. So we appreciate you taking the time. I wanted to introduce you to many of these rookies. I mean, they don't know you the same way that I know you. Like I remember being the new guy coming into the business, the big claim to fame when I heard of the infamous Julie Edmonds was, oh yeah, she's in Cosmo magazine, Julie. So if you don't mind, I think that story is worthy of talking about because your rookie year was quite remarkable, and then the story of how you got into that magazine, I think that says a lot.
Well, no, my rookie year was horrible. I mean, I don't know if anybody can relate. Like, I was so uncomfortable when I opened my office in Charlotte. I had no confidence. I cried all the time. I like thought I was a big fat loser. I compared myself to everyone. I had imposter syndrome. I mean, like all the things, the insecurities that anyone can have, I had them all. And I wanted tremendously to be successful, Jamie. I mean, I'm sure people can relate. Like, I certainly, sharp people would come in. I'm like, I'm supposed to help you get to the next level. I'm like struggling over here to like think of a morning meeting without being scared out of my mind. I mean, I was riddled with panic attacks. And of course, my promoting owner at the time was like, just stick to it. We'll be laughing about this one day. And I like to give that advice because sometimes when you don't believe in yourself, like, it's good when someone believes in you and they help you see that light. And so that taught me kind of that, I'm getting to the cosmopolitan part. And so, I had to shut down my business in Charlotte. Thank God. I mean, I'm thanking God that I had like really had no success there because if I had even a little bit, I may have just stayed there and then who knows what would have happened. So I ended up in Miami, and that's how I ended up in South Florida. And I was with, the old Goudreaus and Terranonis, but John Wiggins was there too. John was just sort of starting his trek. And he if he ever tells you a story, he was about to quit the business. It was interesting. But anyway, and so like going back to Miami and going back in the field on a retrain, I was like, wait, this is easy. I can do this. This is like, I forgot that all you have to do is set the pace and show someone else how to set the pace. And when you have other people around you that are setting the pace, we just gained tremendous momentum. And like from having zero money and crying every day of my life, thinking I was having a nervous breakdown to 1 year later, like having 70 grand in the account. And then another 2 years later having 400,000. So it was not my rookie year. It was like 3 or 4 years in. So I was not the rookie owner of the year. I was the worst bottom of the rankings person then. And so there was I don't know who, if a lot of people, we don't really read magazines anymore, but the Cosmopolitan magazine was a contest and it said fun, fearless female. And at the time I told everyone my mom entered me because I was too shy to say that I entered myself. Now I'm proud that I did it. And I thought to myself, for whatever reason, Jamie, I was like, I'm going to be in that. Like there was no doubt. Maybe I just put it into the universe or something, like they're going to choose me. And so I sent off the little information at that time. It's snail mail. And I went out to the out and came back. And Jeannie told me, Julie, Cosmopolitan magazine called you. And I'm like, what? And so I call and the lady's like, oh, you're Julie Edmonds. I'm like, yes, I am. And so that was it. Now the whole rumor mill got out to like I was on the cover of Cosmo and all. It wasn't that. I was in Cosmo and they chose like 15 women that were doing outstanding in their career. And there was an article written. I get to do my hair and makeup. I felt like J-Lo, and it was my claim to fame. I met Ashley Judd and the Judd sister, or the Judds, because they were there in New York. So yeah, it was fun. And I tell people that all the time because it was like I went from just this insecure, like thinking I sucked to just sticking to it, even though I had a horrible anxiety. And then I got you know, in that magazine. It was great. And of course they over promoted the heck out of that. So it was fun. So I still have it.
I don't know if it was over promoted. I mean, that's kind of a big deal. I mean, it's a national publication, if not global publication. I don't even know the footprint that they had. But, I just remember, again, being the new guy coming in, and I remember hearing about Julie Edmonds, and it might have been my rookie year that I was thinking. Obviously, it wasn't your rookie year, but yeah, I heard that you saved a huge amount of money, that, this magazine recognized you as one of the top young female entrepreneurs in the country. I mean, I think that's a big deal. I don't think that was over promoted. I thought I mean, it sure motivated me being new in the business. I'm like, wow, the fact that we have people in our company that are recognized like that was very inspiring.
Thanks, thanks. You know, I was cleaning out my garage for everybody that wants to hear something about Jamie. It was on the Sidcler Times.
Mhm.
Jamie Hepp's organization continues to grow. The advertising group has generated 2 new owners just since the beginning of the year, giving him 10 offices. And you're number 3 on Quill, piloting the program. So look at this picture of Jamie. Look how young he looked.
Ah, good looking guy back then,
And then
huh?
I have the one where you got promoted to senior and Vera called you and you calculated your stuff and I let out a big hell yeah. Anyway, it was kind of funny reading through these things. It's like going down memory lane. It was
Huh.
almost like another lifetime, but I don't want
That's
to bore
funny.
everybody with those details.
That's funny. Yeah, I've kept them all too. I have proof, Julie, that back in the good old days, we used to have like global rankings, right? All the names were on there.
Oh
And
yeah,
I've got a magazine where I was dead last in the whole company out of
I found
anybody.
that one.
Yeah,
There's
so
like these things.
yeah.
I
I keep,
remember when I was last, I would throw them away in the garbage. I didn't want anybody to see it.
yeah. Well, I kept mine. I figured it'd be good for my kids. My kids love hearing stories of how I sucked at things. They love those stories. They never like hearing how I won the day. They don't care about that at all. They just want to know that dad sucked. Um, so I'm just curious that transition. I mean, you said I mean, I didn't know you were crying all the time. You don't seem like, you don't seem unstable to me, or unstable, Julie. So you're crying all the time. You're insecure.
Well,
You're
okay,
not
excuse
confident.
me for the girl. Just because you're crying does not mean you're unstable. That's what my owner was,
Okay.
stop crying.
Okay.
Men get mad, women cry, just FYI. So there you go.
Okay.
Go on.
So if it's not unstable, what is it? If you're crying, you're just emotional.
Yeah, emotionally tapping into the sadness and just letting runaway emotions, basically. So, but
Okay. Got it. And then I mean, obviously you had a different level of confidence in South Florida, running the new operation. So that wasn't that long of a period of time. I'm assuming that was a couple years difference from the Julie crying all the time to Julie now being in Cosmo magazine.
it was like 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah, 3 years.
So what happened?
Well, I think I surrounded myself with some, interesting people that, I saw being successful. I was like, wait a minute, this is not that difficult. Knowing now what I know, I didn't know then, but I can tell you what I know happened. I just couldn't have articulated it back then. But mindset, we talk about mindset is everything. It's like those beliefs that you're just constantly telling yourself. And when I was in Charlotte, I just kept saying, I suck, I'm a loser. I was focused on losing. I was focusing on defeated attitude. I was focusing on I'm scared. I was focusing on I'm not good enough. I was focusing on imposter syndrome. And then when I went to Miami, I was focusing on close my eyes and run, set the territory. What's the process? Who's the next person? Let's go. We're going to make it. I wasn't focusing on all the insecurities of the things that were like pushing me into that like zone of, I guess your words, instability. So it really has to do with that. And so now I know this.
Hmm. I mean, some people never reach that. Some people just stay in their little zone. I mean, the fact that you changed is one thing. The fact that you did it relatively quickly too,
Mhm.
says something. So, what would you say to anybody who is kind of in that same boat of I'm emotional, I'm crying, I'm lacking confidence? What would you say?
I'd say, so first of all, confidence is earned. So there's two things. There's like I've learned, like self-worth is one thing and confidence is the second thing. You can earn confidence by just doing it over and over and practicing and being around the right people, and eventually you just get good at it. So it's like when you start in the field, why do people quit their first 2 days? They just can't get over the meaning of the word no. Like if we look back and all fantasize our first 2 days in the field, what is a no to you? I suck. I got broccoli in my teeth, I'm not good enough, et cetera, et cetera. But once you get good, the no just means next, right? It's just next because you've got the skill sets, you learned enough, you practiced enough. But you have to be able to shift your mentality. So from no, I'm not good enough, or no, I can't do this, or no, nobody wants this, to no means next is a mentality shift. And you're earning confidence by the skills you're learning. So there's two things going on. So the mentality shift and the skill gaining. And so, skill is one that'll help you, but you have to tell yourself, well, you have to focus on it differently. Like, I can do it and I got this, I'm going to make it happen. I mean, there's a huge difference in the mentality shift.
Hmm.
And, I can predict someone's future for the most part based on when I have one-on-ones with people now, based on not just their actions, but the words that they're using and what they're focused on. I'm pretty sure I know what path they're going in. And
Hmm.
so would everybody believe that, you are where you are based on not just the actions you took, but the thoughts that you are having every single day? The only thing our brain focuses on are the thoughts that we think and the pictures that we evaluate in our head. And that's it. We have that reticular activating system. Think of like a cap on top of your head. I mean, you guys all know this, like our brain wipes out anything that we don't need to focus on. It can only focus on a couple of things at once on purpose for survival. If you're driving down the road, you're focused on the road, you're hyper vigilant, you're not looking at these beautiful homes. Maybe the passenger is, right? Until you go on autopilot and you don't need to think about it and your brain just takes you there. But so, has anybody ever like wanted a new car? Let's say you wanted a white Jeep and you start looking at white Jeeps. What are you going to see when you go on the road? Gary, what are you going to see?
White Jeeps.
All over the place. Now, how does that coincidentally happen?
I don't know.
It's not magic. It's like our brains are like blocking us from seeing certain things. It's like white Jeep, white Jeep. So I put like this antenna up and all of a sudden it's like a 360 view. And now you're noticing all the white Jeeps that were always there, but now you can see them. And so going back to Jamie, your question about the focus, like suddenly if I'm focused on, I suck, like in Charlotte, I suck, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I'm looking for reasons to prove myself right. So anything I see, that reinforcing your belief cycle. But if I'm like I'm around good people and I'm starting to go, wait a minute, I can do this. Here's that antenna. I'm going to do this. We're going to make it happen. Suddenly your brain is focused on all that white Jeep material, but of something that's bringing you towards that goal that you're going to hit. And so I did this exercise because we just did Top Gun SIDCOR a couple of weeks ago. And, I have everyone focus on different aspects of your life, whether it's health, wealth, money, whatever, relationships. And then I had them like just write really quickly 20 things that you think about if your number's low. Let's say your number was, I rate myself a 3 out of 10 on my happiness or how well I'm doing in this category. And I tell them to write 20 things that they think about. And every single person was like, wow, I didn't even know I was thinking about this. Like money's not available, or, I spend too, like, and not facts, but thoughts and beliefs. And when you actually start uncovering what you're thinking about, so I guarantee you, anybody that put like a 3 on money, they're not going to make money until they change those beliefs that they were writing down about it, or health, or love, or connection, or whatever. And so really, again, going back to then, how I quickly changed my status from bottom of the totem pole to like creating a ton of momentum for myself. And again, I didn't know it then, but I know it now. I changed the way I was focusing and looking at things. I know that was a really long answer, but I wanted to give some detail behind it.
Did somebody help you? Was somebody holding a mirror up for you? Was it just something you did on your own? How did you get to that?
Well, I think, we're all in this growth mindset stage, right? I mean, I can't remember a particular book I read, but I was going to like therapy at the time where people were giving me the blind spots that I didn't know. I did do some hypnotherapy then. I read a lot of books, but I was also around some extremely successful people that I was just sort of copying and pasting their level of belief. And so I was like, well, if they can believe it, I can do it too.
Yeah.
And that's really, it changed pretty quickly when I changed the way I was.
Yeah, a message we used to hear a lot in the old days that maybe we don't hear as much today is, we were always told to listen, be a copycat, right? Like in
Yeah.
school, you know, you're reprimanded if you look over your shoulder and you're trying to cheat, like that's a bad thing. But in business, no, do that. Like you don't have to figure this out yourself. So look over somebody's shoulder, find the successful people and do what they're doing. I mean, I heard that a lot as a rookie owner. And so yeah, I know the gang that you were hanging around with in South Florida. I mean,
Yeah.
lots of success happening in South Florida.
Yeah, and we had Dave Keenan there too. I mean, I was in a like an epicenter for, people that owners coming in and out constantly. So
Mhm.
I think, and we're lucky now to have Zoom, because that wasn't a thing back then. So unless that person was in front of you, forget it. You
Mm.
never saw their face. We would fax each other results. I mean, this is how us dating back. Like we
Mm.
would wait for that, magazine to, where am I?
Yeah.
We'd have to FedEx our applications in. Do you remember that?
I remember telegraphing all my numbers, you know, into Merlin Telegraph. Well, just to shift gears, so I totally appreciate that. Again, you're like an almanac of just great history and information in the business and your stories, again, like I said, inspiring. It inspired me as a rookie owner coming in. I'm like, you know, I wanted to level up. So I always like, you know, talking where people are at. Like you've got a couple big hitters. You got a few big hitters on your team. And so I always like covering briefly some recruiting thoughts. I mean, Chris Butte, I mean, he is a superstar amongst superstars, runs one of the highest performing ICLs year over year over year. Elijah Medj, up and coming consultant, and the list goes on. So any thoughts you want to share with us on, you know, attracting top tier talent?
Yeah, I think, someone told me a lot. Maybe it was Abby. We recruit who we are, but it's also important to try to recruit outside of our comfort zones. Hi, Juanice. Um, how are you? Should I call you Centurion? You're on mute. So, and so, you can kind of know the level of confidence of the person when you look at the team that they're recruiting. And so, I forced and also I think a lot of it is the belief of bringing someone in. And so I think, I got to a point where I believe everybody should do our business. Like, you are crazy if you don't come in and do our business. Try it out, give it a year, whatever. Unless it's just like, the circumstances are just completely wrong. And you guys know what I'm talking about, right? But my belief is so strong on, Alice, you need to come do our business. Like, and I don't say that when I'm recruiting someone, but because I believe so strongly in the level of growth a person, and not just the money and success. It's the fact of how a person can just change dramatically by putting themselves in a situation of going in the field and learning how to overcome objections, learning how to set goals, learning how to communicate, learning how to actually interview, train. I mean, who gets those types of experiences? Most people don't. And you elevate your resume, you elevate yourself, your soul by so many levels by going in the field and learning to train and interview and all of that. You guys all know this. And so that's my focus. So anytime I recruit, in fact, I close almost everybody. And of course, now I have a lot more confidence than I did, but that was the number one thing, Jamie, is just completely believing that when you're talking to someone, their life will be better if they go in the field and learn how to work their territory and overcome some objections. Whether they stick to it or not, their life will be better.
Yeah.
Chris Butte's life will be better, even though he was working on Wall Street and he had this. You need to come do this. Elijah Madge was just a young, very scared, very, I didn't know, you don't know who's going to be successful, but you have to close the gap and put enough people around you. But I firmly believe it's the belief that everybody's life will be better if they come into this business, and you're going to bring in more people. And then the Chris Buttes and the Elijahs and those people just start to rise to the top.
Yeah.
You just have to, let them, reflect the reflection of that. And that's what I believe, Jamie. And Chris Butte, if you want to tell a little story, his wife recruited him.
Hmm.
Like he saw his wife, and I saw him at a conference in New Jersey or Philadelphia or New York or something, and he was there as a guest, and I introduced him, and he was just like, "Hey, Julie," I was like, "I'm Chris," or whatever, and we brought him in because he came to one of the leaders meetings and said, "Wait a minute, I can do this. I'm going to do this," and so and that was, that's how Chris came in.
Hmm. Yeah, similar path for me for sure. I mean, I remember my disastrous rookie year. And I remember, before I'd interview the guy, I'm like, oh, here's a USC graduate. I mean, this guy's not going to want to work
Right.
here, right? It's already my paradigm. Like, they can. So I'm like, why did I have such a lack of confidence in myself and my business? Because, fast forward the clock a couple years later, I too had a similar mentality like, dude, I'm going to add tremendous value to you. This experience, the field has a funny way of adding tremendous value. And so obviously that's the difference. You're not going to recruit superstars if you think that they're doing you a favor.
Right.
You have to have belief and confidence that you're adding, big value. So,
A
uh,
100%.
yeah, I appreciate you saying that. And so in today's world, I want to open it up last few minutes for some Q&A, but today in your current life, right? You're certified in hypnotherapy. Um, you're working with quantum physics. This is all kind of a new territory for me, so I'm a little unfamiliar, but tell us what you're working on and how this is applying to developing other people and developing owners on your team.
Yeah, for sure. Well, listen, we have to develop our skill sets as we go, and I always want to be able to offer more to people. I mean, Jamie, you're always the big, 7 habits or I forget what you did during COVID and, just consistently developing our skill sets. And after you guys, we do 5,422 interviews and we say the same opportunity meeting and it's like almost you have a roll it, you could just press a button and hope your voice just opens up and you say this thing, right? And just for me myself, I'm like, I have to have more. I need to go deeper. I need to find out. I need to get, increase my coaching skills. And so the hypnotherapy thing actually happened right at COVID where I was like trying to get better at stuff and it found me really. But it's the most, how do I explain it? Do you want me to explain what it is? Like, and look, not everybody's going to do hypnotherapy, but we go back to re framing beliefs. And so you find out it's not what happened to you in your life, but it's the belief you formed about yourself of the perception that you were seeing. And so if you form this belief about yourself, it's still playing on subconscious mind as broken records somewhere back in your brain. And so what we do is we just go back, we investigate the thoughts, we interrupt that pattern and we install a new belief. And our brain's like what's familiar, even if it's not good for us. So if you have some patterns and habits and thoughts that you have, you're going to keep doing them because your brain loves familiar. And so that's why it's like interrupting a pattern and starting a new belief. That's when you say habits 21 days, because your brain loves to go back. It's going to play tricks on you and say, nope, don't do that. And you have to have a little bit of willpower, but at the same time, that belief system has to change. And that's with you changing the way you're looking at stuff. And so the minute I started working with people, I'm listening to their not their thoughts, I'm listening to their choices of language. And I start clicking it off as I'm having a one-on-one. And they're like, I don't believe, or I can't, or this always happens, or my family, the this, or that. And I'm just like listening to what they're thinking, and I can totally predict where they're going based on what they're saying because that's what their underlying thoughts are. And so I work now on helping them change. It's not the habits, I'm sorry, it's not the work your territory correctly or recruit or get in the field. It's what's driving their belief system. And that's what we change. And when you change your belief system, the energy just shows up. I mean, motivation comes after you start. So does that make sense?
Yeah. And you'll do this? Is this are there you have different exercises, I guess you do with owners?
Sure do. Now, it's a one-on-one, confidential thing,
Yeah.
and I'm not everybody's into this stuff, but you close your eyes and breathe and we go into what's called an alpha brainwave state. That's the same. You guys have ever driven home on autopilot and you're like, I don't remember driving home because you're just drive home. You're in an alpha brainwave state. You were daydreaming and thinking of something else because your mind just took over. Your subconscious mind had the answer. It knew how to get you home. You didn't even have to think about it. So that's what we tap into that.
Hmm. Probably shouldn't do that when you're driving, I guess, huh?
Probably shouldn't do it when you're driving,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. All
So I
right.
was
So let me open it up. Hey, I appreciate that, Julia. That's interesting. I could see that adding big value. I mean, I went to a Tony Robbins seminar years ago, and he did something very similar,
oh wow.
where the way he described it, like you're going to remove some of your faulty software. We're going to remove that. We're going to delete it, and we're going to install some new software just on, beliefs, like, again, if you're telling yourself, you're not good enough, or you're using a crutch of your history or how you were raised as an alibi for why you can't succeed. We're going to trash that, and we're going to install some new, again,
100%. That's exactly it.
yeah.
A lot of times you don't even know. That's the thing, is that's why what I was trained in, and getting those questions deep, deep, deep to actually find out what it is that they're actually thinking that sometimes you don't even know you are.
Yeah.
Trapped.
Yeah. Yeah. Tony does it in big group settings, like
And
3,000
it's so
people.
he's fascinating. He's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, he really is. He's the goat of, psychology, even though
I
he's
think
not a
so.
psychologist.
Probably what I'm doing, and it's probably all from he started it. I don't know.
Yeah. So any questions here for Julie, guys? We have a living legend on our call.
Thanks, Jamie. I'll stare at everyone awkwardly till someone asks a question.
Hey, Julie.
Hi, Alice.
Good to see you.
You
I have
too?
a quick question. So, like, a lot of times we don't realize we're like the thinking pattern. How do we realize that and break that?
Okay, so I think, and I don't know, have enough time. I don't know how long this call goes. I certainly don't have enough time to like go through that whole thing. But part of it is I'm going to just say this: you investigate your thoughts. When I was in my 30s, I saw a conversation between two women, and it's just called self-awareness. I'm watching them, and I'm watching each one of them interrupt the other person and try to like one up them. And I realize I'm like, I do that. I am so embarrassed. This is an embarrassing conversation to watch. I do that. In my, like, I could feel my face turning red because I was observing this like conversation like nails on a chalkboard. And I had to consciously make an effort to realize that that wasn't the right way. So investigating the way you're doing things, pay attention to other people. We are lucky to be surrounded by and it's not a reactive, type of thing. It's an observation. Get curious. And the biggest thing is we just have to be honest with ourselves. We try to pretend a lot, and that's just to protect ourselves, but be honest with yourself. The day you start telling yourself the truth, that's when you can start feeling some you start growing in a direction that you want to go in. Does that make sense?
Thank you so much. Yes.
Am I boring everyone?
Hey, Julie, I have a question.
Hi, Daryl.
Hey, how's it going?
See you down
Nice.
there. What's up? I don't even know your face.
Yeah, sorry. I'm going back into my office here.
Oh no.
I just when you have the Chris Buttes and those people, like, how do you retain? Because that was a long time for them to get there. Like, what did you do to keep good talent on your team? Because getting them started is one thing, but then getting them through the program, getting them graduated, getting them to ownership. How did you get that? Show them how to become a PO. Like, what's those techniques and skill set that you have?
Well, that's a great question. You don't do it alone. I
Okay.
mean, I've gotten Vera on my side. I've gotten Gary to call Chris in times of dark times. I've gotten other owners to pop in. I've gotten him out to other owners. It's like, it's important that you don't leave those people on their own, because, we all have frightening brains, and that can, go down dark rabbit holes when we want to. And so we need someone to kind of slap us back into pace when we're starting to veer off. And so just constantly getting them around other people, and just knowing that, you're not their magic wand. Like, I can only be an example of what I can do and how I can support, but I'm not the magic wand. He's going to have to retain himself, but I want to make sure I'm helping to create the environment as best as possible. And that would be and I'm sure there's other answers too, but like a quick answer is that one.
Perfect. Thank you for that.
Oh, of course. Now I can see you.
Great question, Daryl.
Yeah, really great question.
Well, Julie, we're at time. I'm sure some of the brains are warming up here a little bit. Like, hey, can I have a one-on-one and you can go through some of that hypnotherapy here with me?
I'd love to.
Maybe I'll take you up on that. Maybe I'll be the first.
You'd be surprised, my client list, Jamie.
Is that right? But I do appreciate you taking the time. And if you have a chance, I would love if you could take a picture of that Cosmo clip and send it my way and I'll forward it.
Actually, I leave it. It's in, I'll send it to you, but let me see if I
Yeah.
can find
Yeah,
it.
I'll forward the clip to everybody so they can see. Here's
Yeah.
Julie, this rookie owner. I mean, what a great recruiting
how
tool that
dark
must
my
have been.
hair was.
Yeah, look at that, huh?
It was in Cosmopolitan.
Yeah, all those models in
send it.
Cosmo.
I'll send it.
Well, thank you, Julie. I appreciate you. And
Anytime.
we're looking forward to seeing you at NatCon here in Dallas.
The rally, right? Just
The
kidding.
rally, that's right. That's what we used to call them, right? Rallies.
It's great talking to you, Jamie. Great seeing everyone. You guys kill it. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Julie.
Bye, Jamie.
See you guys.